A UFO, and you're not a fan of the bone-in wings.
And I'm not a fan of the bone-in wings. I'm sure they're probably delicious, but for some reason it kind of grosses me out.
Okay, all right. You're probably not a fan of boneless, bananas as well?
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Definitely.
Yeah, bones out of the fruit as well. And probably is a UFO, but as he said, we have Kaylee Nix coming up right now. She is on the road. Kaylee, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Hey guys, good morning. Live from Bridge Innovate Center in Rossville, Georgia. So just on the other side of the state line here from Freight Alley. And I'm super excited because today we're sitting here and we're sitting in on a State of Freight presentation, which is being brought to us by the Thrive Regional Partnership. And it's in conjunction with some major freight stakeholders here in our tri-state area, which is something that's really exciting. The topic of the day, we're talking about electric vehicles and electric vehicle infrastructure. And we've got a really good speaker panel lined up, and we're going to just hear a little bit about kind of what it takes to pull together everybody's sustainability goals from an EV perspective, from a electric infrastructure perspective from a large city, and also just kind of from a broader perspective of starting these partnerships and getting the ball rolling when it comes to EVs.
Kaylee, can you give us any insight into this partnership and what exactly it includes, or maybe some of the companies it might include?
Yeah, so Thrive is really, really interesting because they are a coalition of 16 counties here across the tri-state area. So the majority of their counties that they serve are in Tennessee. They serve 2 counties in northeast Alabama and then a handful of counties here in northwest Georgia. And basically what their goal is to provide kind of this very unique tri-state partnership when it comes to freight infrastructure development. So oftentimes when we talk about infrastructure development, we talk about it here on the show all the time. A lot of state grant money can cause some headaches when it comes to how things are done when you have a really close state border conjunction. So like for us in Chattanooga, we border the Georgia border, and we can get to the Georgia border in about 5 minutes from downtown Chattanooga, right? You can get to the Alabama border in about 20 minutes from downtown Chattanooga. So it's really important that when it comes to infrastructure projects, that goals are aligned and that the way that these projects are being put forth are also aligned. So what Thrive does is they take all of the goals from these 16 counties in this tri-state area and make them kind of more cohesive together. And that includes looking at state grant money, federal grant money, how those can be used, how those can be applied, how different stakeholders from operators to carriers to shippers in the area to developers in the area are planning on putting forth their plans, how they're looking at using money and kind of making it both equitable and also accessible for all of these different companies, all of these different stakeholders, and each different state.
So, Kaylee, this isn't their first time with the State of Freight. Is there any kind of main focus for this one?
Yeah, so today's State of Freight is specifically about electric vehicle infrastructure. This is the 3rd State of Freight that Thrive has done. They've done 1 in the previous 2 years, but today specifically focuses on EVs and EV freight deployment, which is, of course, a very hot button topic and very timely as we're looking for our EV-AV Summit coming up on FreightWaves in just about 2 weeks. But the partnership today has a speaker from Steam Logistics. Malcolm Harris is going to be on today. We will have a representative from EPB, the Electric Power Board in Chattanooga, which, for those who aren't familiar with the way that Chattanooga works, the Electric Power Board is a public utility, and it serves the greater Chattanooga area, and it is responsible for pretty much every piece of electric infrastructure in Hamilton County, which is the county that we reside in, as well as our direct surrounding areas. So the Electric Power Board, EPB, is responsible for putting together a ton of the infrastructure that will be required for electric charging to come to Chattanooga. They already have done a ton of work when it comes to installing electric chargers for passenger vehicles and making those areas for charging very accessible and equitable in downtown Chattanooga areas, as well as other areas around the city. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, but in a broader perspective when it comes to freight and logistics, medium-sized and heavy-duty trucks and charging, what that takes. We'll also have some representatives from some local colleges around the area, as well as Matt McClellan, who is the Vice President of Sustainability at Covenant Transport, will be here. And as we all know, Covenant is the first recipient of a couple of Nikola tray trucks that we saw come to the Chattanooga area. I saw the Covenant Nikola driving around North Shore, which is the northern neighborhood of Chattanooga, a couple weeks ago. Wasn't hauling anything, but I saw it this is pretty cool. So that's a video of that Covenant Nikola truck when they just launched it. That was about a month and a half ago. So we'll have Matt McClellan here to talk a little bit about what it's going to take for Covenant to expand their fleet of Nikolas. I believe right now they have maybe, I think it's between 3 and 5 that they have as deliverables to them right now. They at least have one. I saw that one a couple weeks ago.
I think I'm the only person at FreightWaves that hasn't seen this truck yet.
You might be.
I need an invitation. Kaylee, can you please ask them?
I will. I'll have Matt McClellan take us on a joyride around downtown Chattanooga in the Nikola.
That would be great. And I always also love to say, whenever we talk about EPB, whenever I talk about EPB to other people, that here in Chattanooga we have the fastest internet because of EPB.
Yep.
It's just something I love to mention.
A little known fact that high-speed fiber optic internet is great. I will agree.
So Kaylee, anybody else that we might be looking forward to hearing from? I know you said we have a great panel of speakers.
Right, so that's going to be kind of everybody who is really highlighting the panel. Shannon Millsaps is here, and she is the program director of the freight and infrastructure projects that Thrive participates in. So she'll be participating in this discussion as well. And I'm honestly most excited to hear from the EPB representative, mostly just because a lot of the conversation and the questions that we ask about electric vehicles and electrification have to do with how does city infrastructure need to change to support this, because we know that our grid infrastructure and existing grid infrastructure isn't going to be a just plug in your medium and heavy duty trucks and they're ready to charge, right? It's not. It's going to take a lot of work to get our infrastructure there. And while here in Chattanooga, here in Freight Alley, we have a bunch of really, really good infrastructure already, I'm really interested to hear what they think are going to be kind of the biggest challenges that come with developing the infrastructure, as well as where the biggest opportunities lie. Something else that we've got going on for us here in Chattanooga is, of course, we've got the Volkswagen plant, which is just up the road from us in downtown Chattanooga, and Volkswagen has announced that it will be kind of the primary producer of electric passenger cars for Volkswagen here in Chattanooga as well. And so while a lot of those cars will go out to surrounding areas and surrounding dealerships, a lot of those will also live internally here in our city, which is going to put, once again, double the strain on our electric grid, which already exists. So if we're talking about a combination of both passenger vehicles, bringing in more trucks like the Nikola Tre as on the heavy-duty side, as well as looking at our city starting to invest more in medium-duty and light-duty electric vehicles, if we're talking about trash trucks or buses or mail delivery vehicles, etc., we're really going to have to make some big time changes, and there's going to have to be some very succinct goals on what we're going to have to do to prevent as much stress as possible on our grid.
Sounds like EPB is going to have to up their gigs at some point.
Yeah, I think my internet speeds have been a little bit slow, but they're still fast. I'm just saying I've gotten a little bit
city
spoiled.
limits?
I've gotten spoiled with their high-speed internet here. But Kaylee, before we let you go, is there any kind of unveiling or any big projects coming from Thrive themselves?
I don't necessarily know if there's any type of big projects coming. The State of Freight is one that they typically do that's kind of more of a research-based, survey-based, and then they gather their evidence and present it forward during a presentation like this, but it's definitely something that I'm going to be asking about. Thrive has done some really cool stuff in the last few years, including being a big advocate for an inland port, which went up in Murray County, Georgia, a couple years ago. And that's a really big rail processing hub. They do a lot of intermodal processing in Murray County, and it's a pretty rural county, which is very exciting because not only does that bring infrastructure money and grant money into a rural county, but it brings a lot of job opportunity and investment opportunity for wealth for those rural county residents as well. So I'll definitely be asking a little bit about some of their upcoming projects, maybe talk a little bit more about what they're doing to attract jobs into the industry and things like that.
Kaylee, thanks so much for joining us this hour, and we'll be happy to have you back on tomorrow, hopefully giving us an update on what you're hearing at this symposium.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'll let you know.
Awesome, Kaylee. We'll check in with you there. Then. Right now, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more FreightWaves Now.